Hey guys, TecTimmy here. So in this Beats Solo versus Beats Studio Pro comparison video, I am going to be comparing these two super popular pair of headphones side by side. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Oh boy, it's TecTimmy time.
Okay, so I've seen a bunch of other comparison videos comparing these guys out on YouTube, both when I was trying to decide if I should upgrade to the Pro, and then also recently I just did another sort of quick scan of YouTube just to in preparation for this video, research for this video, and I didn't really see any videos out there that did a bit of a deep dive into some of the technical differences, similarities, and also the pros and cons behind each one. So I've had the Beats Solo headphones for better part of 5 years, and I basically wore them out. I completely destroyed them, took them to the gym, took them to the beach, used to run in them. They got all sweaty and gross, but I can be a bit frugal when it comes to tech. So I held off on upgrading for quite a while. That was my previous pair. In fact, they were so worn out that the outer cover here was wearing off, and you can see the yellow sponge. There's actually a yellow sponge inside there. So pretty crazy, but they really held up super well. And like I said, I wore them for a better part of 5 years. When I upgraded, so here's the sad part of the story. So those were the Beats by Dre. This was before Apple took over. When I upgraded to the Apple ones, interestingly, the left headphone died after, I think it was maybe eight months, something like that. So major bummer on that. And then I kind of toiled with, well, do I want to upgrade to the Studio because they're order of magnitude more expensive. These guys, I think right now retailing for around $200, and these are $350. But I said, nope, I'm going to bite the bullet and do it just because I really enjoyed my other one so much, and I enjoyed these up until the time that the left headphone died. So this will be a little bit of a deep dive video into it, into a comparison video of the Solo versus the Studio. And I'll start out by talking about some of the similarities between the two, and I'm definitely going to cover the differences. We'll do a bit of a deep dive into sort of 5 biggest differences, and then also 5 what I feel are 5 minor differences that really matter a lot to me and probably will to you as well. And then lastly, I'll cover what I feel are the pros and cons of each one. So let's get into some of the similarities. So both offer Bluetooth 5.0 wireless connectivity. Wasn't true of the older Solo headphones, but it's certainly true now of both the Solo 4 and then the Studio Pro as well. They're both also now compatible with iOS and Android, even older phones. Most older phones are completely backward compatible with most older phones, I should say. So that's cool. They both support audio sharing and spatial audio. They both also include Apple's proprietary H1 chip. So that basically gives you the seamless Bluetooth connection, and then also the voice assistant integration with SIRI. Both models now have USB-C charging, which is great. That was not true of the old Solo 2, and I don't think the Solo 3 had it either. But with the Solo 4, you definitely have your USB-C charging now. And then you also have an audio jack in each for wired playback. And I thought, in this day and age, like, who is going to basically connect this up to your Sony Walkman with a cord or whatever? But the reason that is such a key feature is for travel. So instead of using those awful earbuds that the airlines give you, you can actually connect in using the included cord. I don't know if I have my audio jack here. Did I take it out? No, it's here somewhere. Okay, so this is, no, I did take the audio jack out. So that's the VC charging cable there. And so the other thing is that, as you can probably tell, so they both include a handy carry case, which I actually use when I travel. I'm not really sure why. I just don't throw the headphones in my bag, but I do. I just feel like it gives it sort of that extra layer of protection. They also will allow you to tweak some features, and there's a difference between the two, using the app. So, which I will cover in just a little bit. So that's basically it for the similarities. Oh yeah, they both also have the Beats logo on there, which is for some, I believe, is a bit of a status symbol. I like these not for the prestige that comes along with them, but I think the sound quality is just phenomenal. Probably some of the best headphones. I'll say for both of these, best headphones I've ever owned in my life. So up next, let's get into some of the differences. Okay, so in terms of differences, the most obvious one being size. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I will tell you which of these you should not buy if you have an extremely small head. So you stick around to the end for that little tidbit of knowledge for sure. But we'll get into some of the differences. So the design aesthetic is definitely dramatically different. So first off, these are over-ear headphones as opposed to on-ear or around-ear. So they basically will, your ear is not going to fit in that little tiny hole unless you have little itty bitty ears. So these go on the outside of your head, and then over your ears, and then these wrap around your ears in sort of like a cushion. So good and bad on that. So I would say the good part of it with the studio for sure is that with the noise cancellation, it's just basically a game changer. So you hear very little sound when you have active noise cancellation on with these guys. The solos do not have noise cancellation at all. I would just say the bad part of the difference with the aesthetic is that these make my ears sweatier than these ever did. So, which kind of makes sense, right? So you're dealing with more rubber here, more material covering your ear. So if I'm working out at the gym or whatever, these I definitely get a little bit sweatier when I have these on, and I find that I'm actually doing, particularly if I'm doing cardio, I'm taking them off and sort of wiping them down on the regular. So there's that, and then I would just say that they're both equally travel friendly with these cases and so forth. Some people just like the smaller size. It's a little bit lighter and it's a dramatically different feel over the ears. I would say in terms of the aesthetic, I actually like the solos better than the studios, but what you sacrifice is the sound quality. So that's in terms of our next differences. Let's get into sound quality. So both are heavy on the bass, which I like. Definitely, I listen to a wide variety of music, but if you listen to hip hop, say for instance, the bass is just it's just killer on both. But with the solo, thank you. Where it's lacking is in the mids and the highs. This just has a fuller sound profile all around and still sounds great, but the better sound profile is going to be with the studio for sure. And it makes sense. These are the more premium model, of course, right? And so Studio Pro is I would just say bass heavy tracks, you're going to get a very similar experience, but the fuller sound profile is going to be on the studio. And I'll just say that other reviewers have said that they prefer this this design over these guys, so the over ear versus the on ear, because this one can get a little bit more pressure. I really didn't notice that too much, and I appreciated the over ear, particularly like I said, when I was working out or if I'm walking the beach in Florida or whatever, where you have a lot of heat. These are just lighter and just less. You're gonna have less ear sweat with these guys than these guys. So there is that. So next up, so let's talk noise cancellation, right? So the noise cancellation on this guy, these guys, is just absolutely. It's nothing short of amazing. It basically will block out all form of noise, and also most screaming babies, unless you have a kid that screams bloody murder in the seat behind you like I did in my last flight. It'll block out 90% of the noise that you're going to want to cancel out, which is super cool. And it also has the ability, basically, if you press the power button twice, that's how you toggle it off and on the noise cancellation, so you get sort of a bypass if you don't want it, which is good if you're outside walking, you want to hear traffic and so forth. it's just amazing. I will say, so I live on the ocean here, and sometimes if there's a strong ocean breeze, I will get a little bit of noise that will come through, but that is the exception rather than the norm. And then with the Solo, all that there is to say is that there's no noise cancellation at all, and we definitely hear all manner of background noise with the versus these guys. But if you have it cranked up, you're at the gym and whatever, probably not going to be a deal breaker if you like the smaller size. And then, so the battery life, so on the Solo 4, Apple actually upgraded the battery life. I think it went from 30 hours to 50 hours. So that's cool. And then on the Studio Pro, it went, I think it's roughly 40 hours worth of battery life, but I mean, you're not going to listen to these things for 30, 40 hours. So I'm basically charging mine up once a week. I take them to the gym and 3 or 4 times a week, and I'll charge them up a couple times a week, and it's totally fine. The other note that I took regarding battery life is that, so Solo 4 lasts longer overall. Studio Pro is going to balance your battery life with your active noise cancellation features, which basically just makes it a little more versatile in my opinion. So those are the biggest differences. So the 5 biggest differences are design aesthetic, sound quality, the comfort and the fit, noise cancellation, and the battery life are all, you're going to get some differences. Those are the big differences. Now, I'll just say that in terms of smaller difference, so portability, I would say these guys more portable for sure. They're just smaller and have less of a footprint in your regular carry. So there is that. Charging speed is also a bit of a difference. So with the Solo 4s, you get a 10-minute charge. So this is a rapid charging. A 10-minute charge will last 5 hours. And on these guys, a 10-minute charge will last 4 hours. Whoop-de-doo. So nice that you can charge them up for 10 minutes and you can still use them for your workout or flight and or what have you. So the weight is also definitely a factor. So these are significantly heavier. So these are 9.17 ounces, and these guys are 7.6 ounces. So definitely an order of magnitude heavier, and it's noticeable. It is noticeable both in your hand and on your head. In terms of the feel, they just feel overall more premium, and you get more premium sound as well to go along with it. So microphone quality, I would say, is another factor. I don't do a lot of talking on the phone, but when I do talk on the phone, I actually greatly appreciate this feature, and also the active noise cancellation in the studio. Studio has a slightly better mic, and it's basically what Apple says, it's enhanced microphone for clearer calls. So you're going to get superior call clarity with the Studio over the Pro. And then color options are actually, you're going to get fewer color choices with the Solo 4 than you are with the Studio Pro. And I know that Kim Kardashian has her own color line, I believe, for these guys, which I took a note, and we will get into that as well in terms of the colors. He actually says here, so for Kim's Studio Pro, you can get it's Moon, Dune, and Earth are her colors. So she's got some funky colors if you want to check those out. Standard colors on the Studio we have black, which are these guys right here, deep brown, navy, and sandstone. On the Solo 4, the latest model of these, we'd see you have matte black, cloud pink, and slate blue. So a little bit more funky. I noticed a lot of reviewers out there went with the blue ones. I would never wear blue headphones, guys. That's just me. But I'm generally wear black for most everything. So in terms of the differences, that's pretty much it in terms of where these things differ. All right, so that was basically it in terms of the differences, similarities and differences. And now up next, I thought we'd look at each pair of headphones unto itself and just sort of cover some of the pros and cons of each. So starting with the Solo 4s. So lightweight and easy to carry would be a pro for sure. And then these are just foldable, smaller, and they're just going to have less of a footprint in your suitcase, carry-on, whatnot. Major con is that there's no active noise cancellation like you get with the Studio headphone. So bummer on that, and it is definitely noticeable. You will pick up outside noise with these headphones versus the other, for sure. I would say Another pro is the battery life. So battery life on the Solo 4 particularly, Apple just updated that to be 50 hours fully charged, which is just crazy. And then I would say a con is that for both headphones is that they can become uncomfortable with long use due to, particularly with these guys, because of the on-ear design as opposed to the over-ear design. And then pro strong bass for if you're into bass. These guys are the bass. It's a bass hog, man. You get a lot of bass. And then con would be you don't get the clarity and the highs and the mids that you get with the studio. Another pro is the price. So affordable price compared to Studio Pro, I think to the tune of 30%, something like that, 30% cheaper. And then quick charge is a little bit better, and then you get 5 hours and 10 minutes for that. And then, oh yeah, a little bit less of a premium finish as well. You do the comparison there, but these just feel more, they look and feel more premium, the Studios for sure. So let's cover the pros and cons of the Studio next here. I'm just gonna grab my notes. And so biggest pro is active noise cancellation and the fact that you also have that transparency mode that I mentioned. So you can able to toggle on and off the noise cancellation, which is good for safety. And also if you want to block out the screaming babies that are sitting on the same flight as you, noise cancellation with this is it's just impressive. On would be they're heavier and bulkier, so slightly less portable. I haven't really noticed it. Basically, I throw these in my carry-on when I'm traveling, and not really that big of a deal. You're going to get more balanced sound with these guys than you are going to get with the Solo, and that's both bass as well as the highs and lows. So there is that. Comfortable over-ear design for longer wear, as opposed to on-ear. These go over your ear, allegedly making them more comfortable. Again, I really didn't notice that much of a difference comfort-wise. These, like I said, if I'm working out, the sweaty ear thing is sweaty ears are a thing with both pairs, but more so with these guys. And then you have with these, another pro would be you have more color options, premium color options, including the Kim Kardashian ones. And then you have the quick charge will give you 4 hours as a con, 4 hours, which is basically 1 hour less than the Solo 4. My workouts generally don't last 4 hours. I don't know about you guys. So that would be, and a flight, I could see where you might want more than 4 hours if you're flying internationally. So there is that. And a slightly better microphone for those clearer calls. And talking on these things is surprisingly easy and cool, I found. And the fact that you have that noise cancellation with these guys just makes it all that much better. And then so that is basically it for my pros and cons. At the end of the day, so first of all, since you stayed until the end of the video, or close to the end of the video, I will say that if you have a very small head, these are gonna look funky. You're gonna look like Kazoo. I don't know if you remember Kazoo from the Flintstones, but you're gonna have the very large headphones on top of your very small head, and it's gonna look a little funky. At the end of the day, I would say, as much as I love, particularly my first pair of the Solo headphones, I've got to give it to the Studio for the noise cancellation, and the sound quality is far and away better on the Studio than on the Pro. It's just, these are premium headphones versus standard. You get premium sound, you just get a more premium experience. So hope this video helped you guys. If it did, you mind give me a thumbs up. Helps out the channel a lot, and hope to see you in the next video. In the meantime, if you get beats or you already have beats, enjoy them and jam on. See you in the next one. Cheers.